In
Mm-hmm.
our main event, Dom, for the middleweight title, this is actually the third time these two are going to fight one another, but the first inside of the octagon. Israel Adesanya, you all know Izzy, the long-standing middleweight champion, the man who is quickly creating a legacy for himself as one of potentially the top fighters of all time.
Yeah.
But he has to go up against a man who has defeated him twice, knocked him out in Alex Pereira. Of course, both those fights happening in the kickboxing realm. Now they are both over in MMA. So, Dominic, we have turned a little as of late. After his last fight with Jared Cannonier, that was a pretty big card back in July, International Fight Week.
Mm-hmm.
Izzy talked a big game, went in, not the best fight in the world. We fully admit the guy is one of the most talented fighters in the world,
Mm-hmm.
but we felt like it's worthy to be critical of because he sells very hard and he seems to not be delivering. And I've noticed a lot of this week I'm seeing the same thing. I'm
Mm-hmm.
seeing him saying I'm ready to die. I'm seeing something that he's telling Ariel I know something you don't. He's really hammering it hard. And Dominic, there's this little saying a wise man named George W. Bush once said,
Yeah.
and it goes a little something like, "Fool me once, shame on you.
Mm-hmm.
You fool me, you can't get fooled again."
Right.
So are we going to get fooled again Saturday night, or do you have more faith in this main event to deliver?
Well, guys, if you remember when we first talked about this fight being made, I was a little hesitant to
Mm-hmm.
pull the trigger on the excitement factor because I, quite frankly, just haven't seen that as of late with Izzy in his last three fights. Last four fights, really, have all gone the distance in five rounders. And Alex Pereira, while yes, dangerous, another amazing striker, a kickboxing phenom. That's where he beat Izzy twice, once by decision, once by knockout. But he's a great counter striker as well. And Izzy is a great counter striker. So what's going to happen when you put two of them together in the cage? That's where my worry comes into play. Someone's going to have to pull the trigger. Someone's going to have to go. Someone's going to have to initiate. And I just don't have a lot of hope here. I hope I'm wrong. I really do. But I think we could see a very similar fight from Izzy that we've seen these last few. Play it safe, get those points, do what he has to do. His fight IQ's off the chain. We can't deny that. Again, I think the frustration that Noah talks about is that we know how great Izzy is, so we get frustrated when we don't get to see it all come to
Mm-hmm.
fruition in those fights, in those cages, like we did in the early days, like we did against Kelvin Gastelum, like we did against Paulo Costa in the first Robert Whitaker fight. Those are the types of performances that are worth all this hype that he portrays upon himself, not these last few. So it's just a matter of him letting loose. And I just don't know if this is the type of matchup that we're going to see it. Noah, I even may pose a question over under 1.5 takedowns in this fight because don't be surprised
Ooh.
if Izzy implements a little bit of that MMA game into this fight with Alex Pereira, who's known for his kickboxing. He's done good so far, Alex has, in terms of the takedown defense and whatnot, keeping it on the feet. But Izzy's the highest level that this game can be. I wouldn't be surprised if he goes for a takedown or two, maybe even three.
Yeah, over under. I will take the under, but I could definitely see there being a takedown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I would be hesitant to believe that that would happen throughout the fight,
Right.
but I will admit I've been wrong about this before. Look at what Francis Ngannou did to begin our year. We
Yeah.
thought his route to victory was to clearly knock out Cyril Gane, and instead he implemented a heavy
Mm.
wrestling strategy in the later rounds. So anything's possible. And Izzy has been training MMA full
Mm-hmm.
time for
Yes.
quite a few years longer than Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira pretty new to this overall. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, he's a lethal on the feet, but we just haven't really seen the guy get too tested in his takedown defense. I believe some people I can't who was his first fight? Do you remember the gentleman's name he fought in his
Oh
first fight in the
goodness.
UFC?
Michaelitis. Michaelitis
Yes,
was the
yeah,
first fight.
Andreas Michaelitis. Thank you.
Mm.
Michaelitis, not like a great grappler, but he did try, and it showed that maybe it made Pereira a little uncomfortable. But obviously, you saw how that fight ended. Pereira with the flying knee finish.
Yeah.
And then against Sean Strickland, I mean, I don't know what Strickland was really trying to do there. Pereira kind of he sent his head into the bleachers, but
Yeah.
here I gotta admit, Dom, I was very much with you when this fight got announced. I was again, we have to keep saying it because I understand there is a lot of people that just love Israel Adesanya. They are huge fans of him, and you guys should continue to be huge fans of him.
Yeah.
Dominic can understand that as someone who grew up being a massive Anderson Silva fan.
Yeah.
There was a time where people became critical of Anderson Silva. Think of the Damian Maia fight where even Dana White refused to put the belt around his waist there in Rio. Or, no, not Rio. Sorry.
That one was in Abu Dhabi.
Abu Dhabi. Yes, correct. Abu Dhabi. One of the only times that's ever happened. But then obviously the legacy over time, people don't remember really that for Anderson Silva. It's the highlights, it's the streak, it's the title defenses, it's the dominance, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for Israel Adesanya, I fully admit that if he really just keeps going, he has a really flashy finish here or there. It's all gonna really be water under the bridge at the end of the day. Like we're gonna remember him as one of the best fighters of all time. I don't blame him for doing this. But since I'm saying that, since I'm telling him like he'll be the first one to tell me or you to our faces, he does the change for us, and I'd be like, yeah, you're right. But I also think on the other coin of that, he shouldn't expect anybody to not be critical of it if it's not exciting to watch. I mean, that's what we're getting at here. These fights are just not delivering, and he's constantly being a main eventer. He's one of the biggest stars, and he's being put on these massive fight cards, and the fights aren't delivering. And if he didn't talk such a big game going in, we'd probably take it more easy on him. But he constantly oversells these fights to the point where you're like, God, I don't even. He does the walkouts with the Undertaker stuff going. I remember I even texted the boys and I said, guys, is he by KO? I mean, there's no way. You don't walk out to this and not deliver. And you saw what happened. And there is a lot of blame that could be shed on the opponents too. Jared Cannonier did not do a whole lot in that fight. And, you look at some of the previous ones with like Paulo Costa, the wine or whatever. I mean, that was not a great moment for him. But it's a pattern with Israel Adesanya, and I fully get it. The dude's one of the best in the world. But in terms of excitement for this fight, I'm going to admit, Dom, I'm a little bit hooked. I think I'm being hoodwinked again.
Hey, I'm here for it. I'm glad.
You want to know? You want to know what won me over?
Let's hear it.
What won me over? You probably would have guessed it if I gave you a couple tries. That video of Alex Pereira being interviewed, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, it's a little video. It's kind of cheesy because it's like him with a little bow and arrow out in the wilderness. But dude,
it's cold.
The words, they hit hard. They hit hard. And I watched that and I said, all right, I'm in. I'm in.
Yeah.
And I fully admit I just said the quote, George W. Bush quote. But I'm ready to be disappointed again, and I will be back here on Sunday being like, God damn it, he did it again, and blah blah blah. But I hope that what we see here is some very high level striking. I hope we see two guys that are aggressive and trying to get the one up on one another. Pereira looking to really etch his name in MMA history and take down the guy who he's already beaten twice, while Israel Adesanya perhaps being more aggressive due to the fact that he can't stand that this guy has beat him twice and he has to get that victory. It has the makings of great potential. But we've seen this before, and it has not. So I'm buying in. I can't help it, Dom.
Yeah, I'm glad you are. Really, it's all there. It's all built in, the storylines and everything. It's just what's going to happen. We're going to lock this cage door and let these two guys hopefully get after it. Someone at some point, I feel like, is going to have to make the decision to go. If it starts how I'm expecting it to, which will be a massive feeling out process, I would expect. Someone is going to have to make the decision to make this a fight. And it's just
My question, let me ask you a question, not to cut you
mm,
off, but
mm,
since you brought that up, you said someone's going to have to go for it. If you had to put money on who's going to be the guy that becomes the aggressor, who are you taking to be that guy?
I have to go Alex. I have to go Alex because of the. I think it's the lesser experience in MMA in general in these big moments. Izzy's been there time and time again. I never noticed this until I was noting today. This is going to be Izzy's 14th UFC fight. No, it's going to be his 10th UFC main event. I
Mm,
had no idea
wow,
that he's had
that's a
that many
lot.
main events and that short amount of fights. He's been in these moments, man. 5 title defenses, numerous 5-round fights. He knows how to pace himself for 5 rounds. He knows when to find the shots and then evade. I think if someone has to make that decision, it will be Alex, unless Alex gets Izzy on the back foot early. Maybe we see a whole different type of Izzy come out
Mm,
after that, but we've yet to see that happen. No one's really made Israel Adesanya uncomfortable in that octagon except for Kelvin Gastelum in
I know.
2019, right?
Isn't
So,
that crazy to say that?
I mean, the guy, and again, I patented this over 2 years ago now. The Izzy effect, I think, is still a thing. I think he does
Mm.
freeze up opponents, but Alex Pereira has the makings to break that spell. We'll see. But if I had to put money on it, no, yes, I have to go. If someone's going to press forward and make that instant decision, I go Alex. What about yourself?
I want to talk about confidence. I'm going to answer your
Mm,
question, but my answer is due to the confidence.
yeah.
Maybe misguided since we are in a new sport, really, a sport that adds a lot more dimensions to the fighting
Mm,
game. Alex Pereira has to be probably more confident than any other guy that stepped in front of Izzy because he's beat him twice.
mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if Izzy has that same level of confidence. I would like to think so. He sure
Mm,
talks. I sure believe it when he talks like that.
yeah.
He's never shown to waver in his confidence at all.
Right.
But it has to be in the back of your mind that not only did this man beat you twice, he straight up knocked you out cold. They had to stretcher him out of the ring.
Mm-hmm.
That has to stick with you a little bit.
Yeah. It's in his mind. It has to be.
And that's why I would agree that I could foresee, if I had to put money on it, I would foresee Alex to be the aggressor
Yeah.
because there may be a bit of tentativeness for there's a feeling out process, I should call it, for Izzy especially.
Yeah.
But Alex, whether it could end up biting him in the ass, but I
Mm.
could see him being like, I beat this dude twice, I'm going at him.
Maybe just take a chance, right? Mm.
And I mean, we have not, I don't think you have. I know I can say I've not watched either of the kickboxing
I've
bouts.
not.
From what I've heard, I don't know if it was the one where the knockout occurred or the decision fight. I think it was the one with the knockout. I'm pretty sure Izzy was like piecing up Pereira. That was the second fight. The first one went to a decision.
I've heard
Second
that the
one was
decision fight was really close though as well. So
yes, yes. So I've heard that, and then I heard in the second fight. I guess it was a third round KO, but for the first 2 rounds, I guess Izzy was doing a really good job of like
mm,
piecing up Pereira, and then he
yeah.
just got caught. Now that happens. Could that happen again here? For sure. But I think that's why a lot of the belief, even though yes, Izzy's been more established, been around in MMA longer, I also think there's a belief that maybe Izzy's in his prime. Pereira maybe not quite in his prime anymore. I think he's 36, 37 years old.
Mm,
And perhaps when they fought previous, the roles were kind of reversed where Izzy was this young up and comer who hadn't quite developed into the star he is now, while
yeah.
Pereira was in his prime and still close fights. So um, there's a lot of layers to this fight. I do quite find myself buying into the story behind it. I don't like. I'm very cautiously optimistic that it can deliver, but I fully respect Dom for. I think he's the
Yeah.
smarter one here for being a little less optimistic.
For now, I just hope that Noah's the one that ends up right come Saturday evening. That's all that matters.
Yeah, yeah. Let's